Hello everyone, I'm Lalit Singh. I welcome you back in your session of user interaction. Now, you have already seen how exactly we can design our user controls, how exactly we can design menus. Now, let's just talk about how exactly we can make our user experience better. Now, we already know that there is a UX and there is UI. There is a very fine line difference between them. UI is all your user control or user inputs which we saw in our previous sessions. UX here is making your user experience, how exactly your user experience is. Let's say there is a door. Now, door is a UI. Now, if you put a handle to the door is your UX. In this particular session, we are going to talk about back navigation, which we already saw in our previous slide, but we are going to talk about a little bit more here. And hierarchical navigation, in which we will be talking about how we can create our up button, how we can create the descendant navigation or the ancestral navigations or swipe views. Let's just talk about two forms of navigation first. First is your back button of your Android device, which helps you navigate to your back or previous activity. Second is your up button, that is also known as your ancestral or up navigation, which will always help you to get back to your parent activity. So let's just talk about back navigation. How exactly back navigation looks like? You have your launcher activity. You clicked on a button, you get to your next activity. From there, you click on another button, you get to another activity. Now, if you want to go back to your previous activity, all you have to do is press your back button. What exactly that does? It calls a method named finish, which finishes the current activity and calls at the back of the stack. Whosoever activity is present on the top of the stack, it will come. That's how your back button works. So if you want to override, if you want to put your own functionality in that, also you can even put that you can even change the behavior of your back button. How you can do that? For that, you need to know what exactly your back button or when exactly your back button is called. Your back button is called with the help of a method name onBackPressed. Whenever you press your back button, this is the method called, and here by default in the system, a method is called finish, which will finish your activity. Now, if you want to do something else, you can put all your code here and change the behavior of your back button also. So you must have seen in many applications like game application, even if you press back, your game doesn't go away. Your game doesn't closes. Why? Because they have overridden the back button or on back press and they have given no code inside it. Now, there is only one way to exit that game. They must have provided some button or explicit button of their own to finish that activity. So you can change the behavior of your back button also. Now, let's just talk about hierarchical navigation. When we talk about hierarchical navigation, there are three screen patterns which we can design in our application. First is your parent screen, which will be most probably your home screen or your main activity. Then is the collection of siblings. When we talk about collection of siblings, you can consider them as your middle screen, from where you get to one screen, and when you click another button inside those screen, you get to another screen, and that the last screen or the last activity or screen is known as section sibling. So let's just take an example here. Whenever I open up my news app, that's my home screen. Now, from there, I can select one of the categories. Let's say I selected sports. Now, from sports, there are different articles, and I can go and read out one of those articles. So when I open up my news app, the very first home screen is considered to be your parent screen. And then all those category screens are your collection siblings. And those articles itself are the section siblings. So when we talk about types of hierarchical navigation, there are three types: descendant navigation, ancestral navigation, and lateral navigation. When we talk about descendant is from top to down. Ancestral is from bottom to up, and lateral navigation is sideways. Let's just talk about each one of them in a bit detail. When we talk about descendant, so the same example can be used in descendant also. From my news app, I'm getting to one of the categories, maybe politics this time, and from there, I'm selecting one of the articles. This is the example of descendant. From parent, I'm getting into the child, and from child, I'm getting into the further child. So the another type of descendant hierarchical navigation is master detail flow. In this, you can see on the right, if I implement this application on the phone and I click on general, I get the detail on my second activity. But if I implement the same application on the tablets and I click on general, I get the detail on the side. So what are the controls which we can put while we are doing the descendant navigation? We can put pretty much all the UI control we have learned up until now. That is buttons, image buttons, right? Or that on the main screen, right? Or there can be menus also you can put, or list, from the list you can navigate to the descendant items, or they can be the grid views which you can put when you click on a grid view item, it transfers you to the next activity. Now let's just talk about navigational drawer. Now navigation drawer is another type of descendant navigation where you have this icon at the top of your action bar, that is 3 lines, and you click on that. From your left, your navigational drawer comes out. So that's what your navigational drawer is, which have a icon app bar and a header and your menu items. You click any one of those menu items, you get transferred to that particular screen. So this is again an example of your descendant navigation only. You have the menu items and you click on it, and ultimately you are going into the application, and you click on back, you get transferred to your main application again. Now to create your navigational drawer, the things you need is to create your navigational drawer. The things you need is layout for your drawer, header for your drawer, the menu items for your drawer, and this activity screen itself. And add the listener to your drawer also, so that whenever you click on any item, it does something for you. The functionality is there. So now let's just see how exactly your navigation drawer looks like inside your XML file. There is always a drawer layout at the root, and inside that we have a coordinator layout, and in which we can put all other views and layouts. In the same way, you can apply descendant navigation patterns in some of other views also. Which are listed here. List, recycle view, grid view, and many more. Now let's just talk about ancestral navigation. Ancestral navigation is achieved by the up button, which is always put at the action bar. So to make any activity go back to your parent activity, all you have to do is, in the Android manifest file where you have registered that activity, you will put an attribute name Android parent activity and give the name of the activity. Lateral navigation are those navigation where you can switch between the sibling itself. For example, swipe views. Swipe view is the best example of your lateral navigation. Tabs and swipe view, you can swipe through your pages, you can swipe through your tabs also, which gives you the lateral navigation pattern. Benefits of using that lateral navigation is, if you would have been using a descendant navigation, you have to create 3 different activities. But with the help of lateral navigation, all those 3 screens will be present, will be seen in just one screen, and you don't have to press back button again and again to go back and forth between them. Whenever we are dealing with tabs, we need to keep few things in our mind. For example, we need to lay them out horizontally, and we need to put them at the top of the screen. And we need to make sure that they are persistent when we are switching between the screen, and we should not treat them that they save the history. So how do we implement the tabs? When we talk about implementing, the classes which we need is a tab layout. And because we will be showing 3 screens into one screen, that's where the fragment comes in. Now fragment is a sub-activity which will run inside your activity itself. So to deal with fragments, you will be needing the fragment pager adapter and fragment state pager adapter. Now let's just see how exactly you will create a tab layout. Tab layout is a layout which is not included in your standard Android framework. So that's when you need to also include the library known as design library. So this is how, once you include the design library in your Gradle build file, you will get the access of tab layout, and you will treat it as any other UI. You will put the weight, you will put the height, and you will put the ID to it, and colors. So once you design that, next you will put the view pager. View pager is a view which will help you out while swiping between those pages. Again, you need to put the ID and provide width and height to it. Once you implement the tab layout and view pager, inside your XML file, come to your main activity and start accessing them. This is how you will access your tab layout. You will get the find view by ID and put that ID and start adding the tabs, as many as tabs you want. Once you have the tab, you need to get the view pager access also. And this is where you will start putting your pages. And pages, here what I mean by pages is your fragments. Once you have the pages also, then you need to put the listener also. Why exactly the listener is needed? Every time you are changing a page, you might want to do some work. Like let's say first page is giving you the access of your news app or news application. And in that news application also, the first screen is giving you the access of politics news. The second page is giving you the access of sports news. So every time you are swapping through those pages, you want to refresh them. So that's when you need the listeners also. So the second reason you require the listener is for your tab layout. Every time you click on any one of those tabs, the pages should also change. Of course, you need the listener for both of them, for your view pager also and your tab also. And then you need to sync them. The reason is every time you change your page, the tab should also change. Every time you click on tab, the page should also change. That's the reason there are two listeners. Add on page change listener and then add on tab selected listener. If you want to learn more about navigation pattern, please follow these links. Next, we are going to see the practical part of your screen navigation.